Okay, today we're going to discuss about TestNG plugin or a TestNG framework. It's used for automating our test cases. It's basically used for unit testing. So I'm going to give you some of the examples in Eclipse with the help of Java and TestNG how we can make the things even easier. So till now we have already seen how we used to test a scenario and how we used to validate if the values are proper or not, if the scenario has passed or failed. So for that I'm going to take one of the examples of calculator. So we're going to have four functionalities in the calculator application and we're going to test each of these functionalities using code. So maybe we have a calculator UI and we're going to perform the add operation by using Selenium, taking one of the elements and trying to type that element. Then we click on the addition button, again we type another element, then we click on equals button and we get the value. Then we check if the value that we expected based on the inputs is equal to the value that is coming out. So this is the most important thing when considering a test framework. Say for example TestNG or JUnit. Okay, so we'll talk about some of the annotations or some of the classes, some of the methods or functions of TestNG framework, and we'll see how these methods are actually going to help us save a lot of code. We don't need to write a lot of code to handle the things, and we'll see how it works. So first of all, as TestNG is a plugin of Eclipse, so what we can do is we can go to help and install new software, or we can go to Eclipse marketplace and we can search for TestNG plugin. So nowadays most of the Eclipse they come with built-in TestNG plugins, or if it is not available we can go to this section and we can search for the plugin. So we can search for TestNG, click enter. So it says TestNG for Eclipse. Let's install this. Okay, it'll take some time. Before that, let me write the scenarios that we have. So first of all, we have a calculator application. So this application is having four functions or four functionalities. One is add method, which is going to take two numbers, number one common, number two, and it's going to generate another number that's going to be an integer value. Similarly, we'll have subtract, same thing, that is number one and number two, and we're going to have multiplication and division as well, mul and div. So these are the four functionalities, basic functionalities which we have in our calculator. Then we are going to write four test cases, add test, and within this test case we are going to add two numbers. We'll create number one, we'll take number two, and we know based on these two numbers what is going to be the expected sum. Then we'll call the calculator app dot add method and we'll pass these two numbers, number one and number two, and this add method is going to return us some of the value, some of the sum, that is called the actual sum. Now this sum is actually the value which is coming out of the application. So while performing this functionality we get this output on the screen or on the software, but we know based on these two inputs we should be getting similar output like expected sum, but now it is giving some actual sum. Now we need to compare. What we used to do, we used to compare if expected value, expected sum is equals to the actual sum. If it is happening, then we say okay, test case has passed, system.out.println passed, else we say it's failed, system.println. So this is the traditional way of writing the code, but now we're going to change it. We're going to write some of the TestNG test cases, and the logic is going to be little different over here. The amount of code that we are writing is going to be even less. So let's see if our TestNG plugin has installed. Okay, now we need to click on confirm, and it may ask us to restart the Eclipse. Fine, accept the agreement, click on finish. Now it's installing the TestNG plugin. Okay, so it's going to take some time. In the meantime, let's create our calculator application. So as we have already seen how to create a Maven application, now we're going to create a new Maven application, and we're going to use the TestNG library from internet using a dependency, a Maven dependency. So right click new project, let's call it a Maven project. Okay, Maven project, click on next. Now we're going to skip everything, next, and we're going to give the name scom.calculator.application. Artifact is calculator-app, version is 001. Let's click on finish. Now a new Java project and a Maven project, so this is the same Java and Maven project is created. So I'll zoom it. So you can see this calculator app is having M and J icon both. So it's a Java Maven project. So let's expand this. Now we have two directories to care about. One is source main Java and source test Java. Okay, so source slash main slash Java will always have the business logic, and source slash test slash Java should have the I'll first try to create a new Java class. Okay, so in this class I'm going to create a package scom.calculator.app, calculator application or calculator app. Now this class won't have any main method because this class will have only the business logic. Let's click on finish. Now as per the requirement, we need to have 4 functionalities. The first functionality is going to be public int add integer x comma integer y, and this class is going to return, this function is going to return the sum of x and y. Similarly, we can have 3 more methods: sum, then add, then subtract, then multiply, and the last division. So here we are going to return the negative x minus y value. Here we are going to multiply the value of x and y, so we are going to change the symbol to star. Over here we are going to divide the value, and remember, when we divide two integer numbers, the output will always be an integer value. So if you divide 5 by 2, it's actually 1.5, 2.5, right? 5 divided by 2, it's going to be 2.5, right? So the problem over here is integer, a 2.5 value cannot be represented or cannot be stored within an integer space. So we need to have at least one of the number float. So let's make both the numbers float. Okay, so it's capable of holding a decimal value, and we can return a float value, because when we divide, when we have at least one float value in a calculation, then we are going to generate a float value. So fine, now we have 4 methods and the functionality is ready. Now this is something which has been developed by the development team or some other company, but you have this application. What we need to do now is we need to write a Java code. Okay, we need to write a Java code to test that. So let's call this code, let's put this code into a package called com.calculator.tests, and we're going to call it calculator test or calculator application test. Fine. Now we are going to create a method public void test addition. Okay, this is just a name, whatever we want we can give. Now what we need to do over here, we need to have 2 numbers, integer x equals to 10, integer y equals to 20, integer expected sum equals to, as we know, if we add 10 and 20 we'll get the value 30, but we're not sure about the calculator application. So let's create a calculator application and see what this application is actually generating for me. Right? What is the actual value that I'm getting after calling the add operation in this calculator application? I need to test this application, right? So I need to import properly calculator application CLCAPP equals to new calculator app. Fine, this is the way we create the object of a class. Now the class object is ready. We're going to call the calculator apps add method, and we're going to pass the x value and the y value. But now we need to compare the result. So this result, after calling the add operation, it is generating an integer value. So we can store that integer value in another variable called actual sum. So this is the actual sum which is coming from the application. Now the most important thing is to check if the actual sum is equals to the expected value. So this is the main logic. If actual sum is equal to the expected sum, then we say sysout passed, else we say it's failed. Fine. Now we have written the logic. Okay, there is a spelling mistake. CTUAL. Fine. Now if we run this code, then we'll be able to understand if it is working properly or not. To run this code, we need to have a main method, right? Because this codes Java code cannot start without a main method. So we can have a main method, and within that main method I'm going to create calculator app test equals to new calculator app test. Fine. Now the object is created and we have the reference. So we're going to call the method test.testAddition, and I'm going to see if the values are proper and if the response is giving, if this calculator app is actually generating the actual value, that is the value which I expected. So let's run this code and let's see the output. Right click, run as a Java application. So till now this application is just a simple Java application, but now we are going to convert this application into a TestNG standard way of application. Now we have expected 10 and 20 to add and have the value 30. Suppose the calculator application is not written properly, or this add functionality is not written properly. They have done some changes in their code and it's always returning some value which is greater than the actual value. So we don't know how it is working, but we need to call this method and then we are going to check the corresponding values. So let's convert these two values. 20 it's going to be 40. On the expected sum we still have 30. So 40 is not equals to 30, or the actual value 40 is never going to be equal to 30. So we are going to write test case as failed. Let's right click, run as a Java application. Fine. Now it says the test case has failed. So when we get this scenario, we go back into our code and we check the functionality. Then we found that yeah, this is a bug, this is an issue. So let's fix it. Now that's fixed, and when we run the code again, it again says failed because 20 and 20 they're generating 40 and this is 30. So let's make it 40 and run the code. Now it has passed. Great. So we're going to minimize certain steps in our application. So before doing that, we need to have the TestNG plugin in our project. So to add a new plugin or to add a new dependency or a new library or a new jar file to the code, we need to have the Maven dependency over here. So we don't have any Maven dependencies. So if you don't have anything, so first of all we need to have the dependencies tag. Within that we can add the dependency which defines the TestNG plugin. So how to find that? We need to go to Google and we need to search for Maven dependency for TestNG. This is a plugin which we need. So this is the repository. So let's go to maven repository.org and take the latest jar. This is the latest jar. I have copied that and we need to paste it over here. Now it's done. So we have the TestNG dependency ready in our code, and if we want we can start writing code of TestNG. So now as I have already told you, this method it specifically deals with testing the add operation or add functionality. So this is a test for us, so we can add at the rate test and use a control space. So it's going to import this test interface from org.testng or whatever be the, yeah, this is the one, org.testng.annotation. So now I have imported. So this test now it doesn't need any main method to be run, so I can remove the main method because TestNG has the main method. This plugin it has the main method, and whenever it finds at the rate test annotation on top of any method, it runs this method from its own main method. Okay, so now this method is a test method which can be understood by TestNG, and TestNG is going to run it. The next very important thing is, if you want to run this code but without this main method, how we can do that? So if you have the TestNG plugin installed and if it's working properly, we can click on we can have a normal Java class, and if it has the at the rate test annotation that is from TestNG, then we can right click, go to run as, and over here we should get the TestNG plugin, run as TestNG job or TestNG class. But we don't have that, so what to do now? We need to, there is a concept of build path, or there is a concept of build path in Eclipse. So what happens when we want to do something on a project? This project in Java, it needs some other libraries as well, it needs some help from other libraries. So initially Java was never written, or not even today it is written for Selenium, it's never written for TestNG, etc. Rather than that, what they do, they create a software, they sell it in the market, or they open it, give it for open access. What we need to do is we need to bring those code inside, right? Similarly, there is a plugin called TestNG which we have recently installed. So let's try to bring that TestNG plugin into our project so that we can have the functionality of TestNG called TestNG in Eclipse. So it's a plugin which is going to help us run the code without even having a main method. So all we need to have is at the rate test annotation, and it is understood by the TestNG plugin that this method can be run as a test. Okay, this is going to be a test case. Fine. Okay, great. So we have installed the TestNG plugin. The next thing that we need to do is we need to add the TestNG plugin into our project, so that this plugin is going to help us run our code in Eclipse environment. So when we run our code in Eclipse, basically what we do, we have to right click in a Java class, run as, and then we do Java application, right? If the application is having main method, then Eclipse shows us run as Java method. But if you don't have a main method, then this class is not understood by the Java run executable file or the JVM. We cannot run it. So Eclipse doesn't give us the way to run the class which doesn't have a main method. Right now this class, it's a test method, and as I have already told you, we need to write very less amount of code, and then also our class should be running. So this class, this method is going to have a less amount of code. Even it's not having, this class is not having a main method. So there should be something which can run this code. So for that reason we have installed the TestNG plugin. Okay, now we need to import, we need to use that TestNG plugin in our Java project. So what we need to do is we need to right click, then we need to go to the build path, and we need to click on add libraries. Over here you can see the TestNG library. Fine, so let's click on next and click on finish. Now you can see over here a new plugin or a new library will be displayed, that's called as the TestNG plugin, TestNG library. So this framework, TestNG framework, it has added lots of benefits to our code, to this Eclipse workspace, so that we don't need to write a main method, we can directly run it. So let's do one thing, let's right click on this class again, run as, and you can see there is a new thing which is coming up, that's called as the TestNG test. So if you click on this, then it's going to run our code from its own main method, not the main method that we have written. We have in fact written nothing. So it has called TestNG's own method, and they are calling our at the rate test annotation method. Fine. So now this is the icon where we should click to see the result. You can see the result is green. It says there is one test case, okay, test addition. There are different concepts, like there are different terminologies about test suite and test and a test class. and a test method. So we're going to discuss them in the next class, but right now we need to concentrate how to write the code. So we have one class, one test method, and the test method has completed successfully. Now this thing also we can remove if we want. So let's comment these things out and let's see how TestNG helps us achieve this thing. There is a method, there is a class called assert, and we need to import it from TestNG. So use control space, it says org.testng assert equals. Now this method, it used to take two parameters. Which two parameters? It is going to check the equality. The first parameter, the actual parameter that we are receiving from the calculator application after performing the add operation, and the second parameter is the parameter which we were expecting when we decided on the two input values, x equal to 10 or 20, y equal to 30. So based on these two input we have decided an expected outcome, right? So now we need to give these two values to this assert equals. First we need to give the actual data or actual sum, then we need to give the expected sum. Now if you want to display an error message, like if they are not equal, we can write a custom message, calculator application is not working. Now you can see this 4 line of code, I think 5 lines of code is reduced to a single line, and it's even more meaningful. So later on we'll see how we can remove even these 3 parts. But right now let's assume that we have just these 3 sets of input, 2 input to the addition function and 1 input is the result, expected result coming out of the addition function. Now we have checked everything in a single line. So let's do one thing, let's run this code again and let's look at the output. Right click, run as TestNG test. It has done the same thing and it has passed properly. So if you click on this console, it says yeah, it has passed properly. Suppose there is some error either in the expected output. Say for example I have expected 25. If I add x equal to 20 and y equal to 20, and if I still expect the result after adding x and y is going to be 25, then there is something wrong. So if I run the code, there is a chance. Okay, let's run the code and let's look at the output. So after clicking run, we need to go back to this icon and it says yes, this method has failed. And if you focus on this console output, it says java.lang.assertion error. It says assertion error. That means there is these two data are not similar. It says calculator app is not working as expected. Not working, and the value TestNG was expecting, or our test case was expecting, was 25, but the value that it found from calculator application was 40, right? So we have expected a wrong value, so let's make it right. So let's expect 40 and it should run properly. Now if you right click, run as TestNG application, it's going to run properly and it should pass our test case. Now we have only one test case within this class, so let's have one more test class. To do that we can follow the same steps. We need to give @test annotation, then public void test subtraction, and we can have int x equal to 10, int y equal to 8, int expected difference equal to 2, int actual difference equals to calculator dot, we need to have a new object, new calculator app dot subtract, and we can pass the x value and y value. Now this actual value is received over here. Next thing we need to check is assert equals actual difference is equal to the expected difference. If that is not, then we need to give the error, calculator app subtraction is not working. That's it. Now we have two test cases or two test methods in the same class. We can run the class using right click, run as, and we need to choose this TestNG plugin. The minute was surgery. Fine. After running this test case, we can go to TestNG plugin and we can see there are two tests now because we have added one more test, and we can see both the tests are passing. If we want to run just one test case or one test method, we need to select that test method and we need to right click, run as TestNG test, then only that method will be running. Both the methods won't be running. So now we have just one test run and none of them have failed. Let's look at this output. Only this test case has run. So this is how basically TestNG works with Eclipse, and we'll go into little more deeper in the next classes. We'll talk about more such annotations. We'll try to minimize the code so that we can do a better testing. We'll try to remove these parts as well.